The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the producer and those appearing in this show and do not necessarily represent the views of DerryCam, the town of Derry, or any of its staff or affiliates.
Hi, I'm Anthony Henry. Welcome. I said my last name. I don't usually say my last name. Well, I'm Anthony. Welcome back to America's Ass. We're on episode 14. Rainy day today, kind of, so a little dreary, but still happy to be here. Anyway, today we have our guest, Crissy Kantor. She's alderman for Ward 6 in Manchester, so feel free to introduce yourself to anyone who doesn't know you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Crissy Kantor. I'm in Manchester, New Hampshire. Obviously, New Hampshire. Ward 6, newly elected in a special election, and I'm running again for alderman. And I'm a mom, a grandmother, a business owner, chill spa, and excited to be interviewed by Anthony, who I think is one of the smartest guys I know. And he's only 15. I'm really impressed. What a gentleman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here.
I'm grateful to be here.
All right, so first topic. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is somewhat controversial in Congress, has introduced articles of impeachment to impeach President Joe Biden. And she says that what she has will change the minds of any Republicans that do not want to impeach Joe Biden. So this is a topic that many people feel has been a long time coming in terms of, getting rid of Biden. It might backfire because if they do impeach Biden, and if it is fully successful in both the House and Senate, then it goes to camel face, which I call Kamala. And I do not think she will do good either. So what do you think?
I think he should have been impeached a long time ago. It was a long time coming. That's exactly what you were saying earlier is, he should have been impeached a long time ago. He does not represent the all-American family. And backfired, I don't know. I mean, Kamala, she doesn't represent most of us women, common sense, mama bears. So go Marjorie. I'm really impressed.
I have met Congresswoman Greene once, and she definitely is a firecracker, and I'm happy that she's doing this because I feel like they do need to do this. They need to get this investigation more public, not just into Biden, and we've covered this in the show extensively, but Biden's family, specifically Hunter, the crackhead. So it really is a crime family.
It truly is. The laptop from hell.
Yep.
And I mean, enough is enough. He's the one that should be indicted along with his father and everything that's going on. It's just not okay. And we're done with the lies. And that's why I ran as alderman, because we're all done with the lies and we want accountability, transparency, and full integrity. So enough is enough, and I think a lot of us are standing up. So thank you for standing up, and it was great to meet you a few months back.
Yeah, we met at the Amos Tuck Dinner fundraiser with DeSantis speaking. That was a great event.
It was a great event, and I like DeSantis, but I like him in Florida. So anyways.
Yeah, presidential election is another topic. The first debate is coming up soon, I believe. It's either August 23rd or August 26th, I don't remember, but that'll be a fun one. I believe there's a few people that haven't qualified yet because they have specific qualifications this year, like fundraising. They need like 40,000 unique donors, which is why you're seeing so many ads to contribute $1. And they need to get a certain amount of polling. So Mike Pence, I don't think he's qualified yet.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Pence is another one I've met. Nice guy, but I don't think he should be president.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, switching topics. Chicago, crime. This is a topic I talked about like a few months ago when Mayor Brandon Johnson first got elected, and we thought he would be an improvement over Lori Lightfoot, the past mayor, but he's turned out to be worse. The example I'll give, this past weekend, 40 or 50 kids looted and destroyed a 7-Eleven in Chicago. And I believe they all got arrested, but the mayor was asked about it in a press conference, and he kind of was going around it saying, oh, it was just a large gathering. and they destroyed that 7-Eleven. And he says, no crime, large gathering, and he said that we shouldn't be vilifying teenagers as mini Al Capones. So it's just shocking.
But not surprising.
Yeah.
Let's face it, the hypocrisy is out of control, and it's really unacceptable. It should be law and order across the board. If you do something wrong, you're held accountable. Gatherings, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And I have my book that I wanted to bring, Pastor Clarence Washington. If you go to clarencewashingtonauthor.com, this is a great man. He's 81 years old, and he wrote a book series called Hijacked, How Dr. Martin Luther King's Dream Has Been Hijacked. And that is the truth. It has been hijacked. We shouldn't be judging each other by the color of our skin. We should be judging each other by our character. And isn't this what it's about? Character? Yeah. And aren't we all important and we all matter? I highly suggest going and checking out his books, Pastor. So it's clarencewashingtonauthor.com. And I really would like you to meet him someday. I know he's out in New Mexico, but when I heard him speak, I was blown away because someone told me a couple of years ago that I needed to own my white privilege. And I'm like, what? White? Oh, I'm like, well, first of all, I'm brown. So I'm sticking up for my white friends, and my mother, who's white, this is like insanity. Yeah. This divide is unacceptable, and we are a melting pot. America's a melting pot of awesomeness and beautiful people, and we should be respecting everyone. And there should be law and order, and that's why he has steps in there that showcase how it's been hijacked. Dr. Martin Luther King, and we shouldn't be disrespecting him.
And I believe the Democrats are kind of using this as a political bazooka to try to advance their own agenda by using race and trying to turn it against people.
But if you know the facts about Martin Luther King, he was nonviolent.
Yeah.
So, hello, let's wake up and smell the fishiness of what's going on.
It reminds me of that one news report back when the George Floyd riots were happening, when that one reporter was standing next to a burning building saying, oh, everything's peaceful here. Like, they're just lying.
Complete lies.
Yeah.
And it's like, aren't we done? Aren't we done with the lies? I know I am.
Yeah.
And that's why I stood up, and that's why I ran for alderman in Ward 6. And I know that there's an amazing group of people that are running in Manchester to take back our city, because we're done. We're done with the insanity, the enabling that's going on. And there's literally like 500 homeless people in Manchester, and they are controlling what's happening in Manchester by showing up at the alderman meetings and saying, pretty kind of threatening and going, hey, you know what, we should have everything that we're allowed to have. And it's like, no law and order?
Yeah.
Passing out needles. Actually, my friend Chris Morgan, who's running for alderman in Ward 1, his big thing is, shouldn't we be passing out basketballs and soccer balls instead of needles? Because needles are enabling people. And it's actually a health crisis.
Yeah.
Because if we hand them out a needle, they're one step closer to overdosing and dying. And I know people that have died from this horrible drug epidemic. And we really need President Trump back to close the borders and do what is right. Because right now, what's happening is not okay. We need to close the borders because it's all coming through the borders.
Yeah, and it's especially impactful in New Hampshire because we have a horrible opioid crisis.
Yes, and I personally have experienced this with a family member, and I know so many other people, and I know there's an amazing woman, Amanda Robichard and Shane. They've been on the front lines in Manchester, pulling people off the streets and really getting help. So there is help. It's being there and helping people to connect to the right detox centers.
Yeah. Drug crisis is one of the biggest problems in America, that and the mental health crisis. I think those are the two biggest things that government needs to focus on to get American citizens where we should be, safe and prosperous.
Yes, and I actually hold the government responsible for a lot of this mental illness because of the lockdowns and everything that they did to mask us up and shut us up. And we need to take back our rights. And as my friend Dan Richard would say, if you don't know your rights, you have no rights. So we need to knowledge up and speak up. Show up at your alderman meetings, but speak up respectfully. And that's the big thing, is it's about speaking up and being kind. But really, you know, you're never too young or too old to speak up. And Anthony is such a shining example. 15 years old, so impressed, and speaking up on all American values and standing up for what is right. And I know other people that are much older, in their 80s and 90s, that are done. They're done with this. And they're like, okay, we got to stand up and show up. And they've been showing up to the Trump rallies, standing in line for a long, long time, and supporting our president.
I was supposed to go to the speech in Manchester back in April.
Oh, yes.
One of my friends actually offered me VIP all-access tickets. I was out of state when it happened. But I missed out on meeting him, but that's okay. Trump gets a lot of great lines. Switching topics, Manchester, which we've been covering already.
Yes.
I feel like Chicago has a lot of crime, but Manchester didn't always have crime, at least not at this bad.
Yeah, as a kid, all right, so I'm 53, you guys. 53 in the 80s. I know it's a little whiles ago, but we used to ride our bikes downtown, and we would go to the movie theaters, and it would just be so great. We had no problems. I know people that are grown men, strong men, that don't want to go downtown. I just spoke to a couple gentlemen yesterday, specific business owners, that they're like, I don't want to go downtown. I don't want to be, they don't want to feel uncomfortable. You're stepping over people. It's not okay. And we don't want to see people overdosing right in front of us. We really need to get these people the help that they need, but they've got to want it. So we need accountability, and that's a part of it, is we need to support our police. And I love and respect Chief Aldenberg big time, and I know he's doing his best, but their hands are tied on a lot of these things, because we need bail reform as well. So, you know, you arrest them and they head back out. So we need some accountability, and, you know, our parks aren't really safe anymore. You don't want to walk through them. Yeah,
Manchester has gotten bad. I'm lucky because I live in Derry. We don't really have that issue. As I said in my mic check before we started rolling, I rode my bike to the studio, 4.5 miles. I was fine. I didn't see any odd people on the streets. And I've never really seen that many homeless people in Derry in general. There was one that I could remember, and I remember they actually found him dead from an overdose, but our police in Derry have done a very good job with Chief Fioli now and Chief Garone for the 50 years prior that he was chief. I think Manchester has a long way to go. They're really bad, and I do commend the people that did speak up at the alder meetings, because they really scared the aldermen, I think, into doing what they want, and that's what you have to do sometimes. Like, when I was speaking back in 2021 and 2022 about masks, the one thing that made them finally get rid of the mandate was when I brought forward evidence of teachers verbally abusing kids about the masks.
Wow.
I spoke about that, and 6 days after I said that, they got rid of the mask mandates. And it also happened to be that they got rid of the mask mandates 2 weeks before the election, but that's another thing. But yeah, I'm hoping that the same thing happens in Manchester.
Yeah, I know. I work with Nori from, North End Properties, and she's our team leader for elected officials. And if you go to manchestergop.com, there's a whole lineup of incredible candidates that are running for election in Manchester because we want to take back our city. And she is the one that spearheaded showing up at City Hall, which you're talking about, with the tent cities, because it's affecting businesses. Yeah. My friend Diego, who manages a restaurant, a Colombian restaurant on Hanover Street, he is sweeping up, and I have video footage, sweeping up needles and condoms. It's just disgusting. People are hanging out outside. It's not okay what's going on, and it's affecting everyone's livelihoods. And, you know, Palace Theater, you want to go to the Palace, but, you know, there's so many people that are just, they're not okay, and they need help, but they need to be held accountable too.
Story about the Palace. I have a friend, he's one of the editors on this show, actually. He's not here today, though. He went to the Palace Theater, I believe, a few months ago to go see a show, and they had to walk through an alleyway to get to their car. And he said that there was a bunch of homeless people staring at them and slowly following them and stuff, and it creeped them out. So they harass everyone. They're not similar to the BLM protesters we were talking about earlier. They're not all peaceful. Some of them are. Some of them are, but not all of them. And it's a problem.
Yeah, the ones that want something from you. Prime example: someone was trying to tell me that, oh, it's not scary going downtown, and they were making fun of me. And I'm like, well, actually, I went downtown, and someone asked me for money, and I'm like, no, sorry, no, thank you. I don't want to talk. And I got in my car, and the next thing I know, they're banging on my window. That is not okay, and that is scary. I was by myself, and you got someone that's creeped out looking, and they're banging on your window. What else are they going to do? So it's that kind of behavior is not okay. No one should be invading anyone's space. We should be able to go down and enjoy the Palace Theater, the beautiful place that it is, with the amazing productions that they have. And Peter Ramsey has gone above and beyond to keep it up and running and full of life there.
Yeah, and it took forever to get the Board of Aldermen to listen. And the mayor. The mayor is a whole nother topic. I'm sure you could go into her a lot.
Yeah, I think that we definitely disagree on a lot of things. For instance, I don't believe there should be a homeless department, because that is just enabling the situation. Any kind of a homeless initiative worker, really, they just want to keep their paycheck. Are they really helping them get out? We have welfare. There's other ways of helping people than creating a new department with excessive, we need to manage our funds correctly. For example, $1.4 million went to a homeless daycare center, I'll call it, and they didn't add any extra beds. There was only 40 beds to start, and there's still going to only be 40 beds. So my question to her was, why not more beds if that's what the problem is? And why create a homeless center, daycare center? And actually, she called it, an entertainment center, pretty much, to entertain. So I'm like, we're going to entertain 100, 150 homeless people, and then where do we send them after 5 o'clock? It's a magnet for free stuff, and it's not helping the situation. We need to really help people with accountability and transparency. And being able to, so those 40 beds, anyone can access those, including sex offenders, but there's not a lot of turnover. I was told there's 10% turnover. So the people that really need the help aren't getting the help that they need, and you can actually use drugs and come back in and out of that facility. So it's like we're just enabling bad behavior. Does that make sense? Because drugs are illegal. Drugs don't help your mental health situation. They create more anxiety, and it's just not okay. And does it teach you responsibility? Shouldn't we be teaching responsibility? I know that there's a new Freedom Movement facility. A friend of mine, Steve Richards and Michelle, opened up after recovery, it's a transitional housing, and it's going to be unbelievable, because sometimes I don't know, have you had anyone close to you who has had drug issues?
Yeah.
Okay, so they detox, they go through the recovery program, and then it's like, how do you start living again? You know, how do you, it's mental health. It's like, let's create some self-worth. So it's faith-based, and it's going to be an unbelievable center for people in transition to really give them a foot up on getting back into society without being just let right out going, what am I doing? Because it's kind of hard,
Yeah.
And let's get to the root of problems when it comes to addiction. It's like, why do people choose to use? It's because of a trauma or something that is deep within them. And we've got to help them heal that, but we've got to take away the drugs first. So it's a hard subject, and it affects the whole family.
Yeah.
And we really want to help people.
We have a good charity in Derry, the Jason Flood Memorial. Have you heard of them?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, one of our town councilors actually runs it, Doug Flood. I won't go into too much about it, but they're a very good resource in Derry for mental health stuff. So,
Okay, so that's great.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to know is
Yeah.
where to
People
connect
need
people.
to talk.
People need to talk about it. It's okay to talk about it. It's actually so important to talk about it. That's why I talk about my stuff that I've had to go through and say, hey, I've been there, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
But there is a beautiful road to recovery, and the light will shine bright on you. I promise.
Yeah.
It's good.
And another thing about drugs in Manchester, it gets into the schools as well. And the school board in Manchester is also not very good.
So I have one friend on the school board, Ken Tassi. He's running with me again in Ward 6. He's outstanding. He is for parental rights, for students' rights, and for just doing what's right and speaking up. We shouldn't be confusing our children. So yes, there is an amazing group of candidates that are running specifically in Manchester, and it's so wonderful when us grassroots people start getting involved. And for one, my friend Joy Laraba Seneca is running for school board in Ward 10. And there's a new woman, Camille Craffey, who I think she's a military, awesome woman. She has a 5-year-old son or daughter, and I just met her. She just came on board to run. We need to take back our city, take back our schools, and we need really, I don't know, we just need to help everyone in the right way, not confuse anyone.
Yeah. Another good candidate that's running for school board, Brian Cole.
Oh, my goodness. Of course, Brian Cole.
He's a past guest of the show. He
Yes.
was on episode 9. He's amazing. He's
Yes.
Ward 7.
Yes,
So,
and he helped me win my election. He came out, he went door knocking with me, and that's the amazing thing is being a small business owner and a mom, I felt the need to run, and then all of a sudden these great people that care about our city showed up to help me win, and that's Brian Cole, that's Will Infantine, Ken Tassi, Lorraine Lenski. Oh my goodness, there's a whole list of them, but that's what we're doing. It's a grassroots campaign and supporting one another for our American values.
yeah.
Doing what's right.
Yeah, doing what's
It's
right.
that simple, right?
Yeah. And besides Ken Tassi and I think Carlos Gonzalez,
Oh,
who
yeah.
who else is on the school board?
Okay,
That's good.
Gordon Hanner is unbelievable. This is a young guy. He actually, Jay Rouet met him door knocking. An incredible story. So we meet every Friday as a group, and so I don't know everything about everyone, but he is he's well spoken. He cares. He doesn't want to have to leave Manchester, and he wants to make the schools better. And he is he's definitely a front runner. And let me see. Oh my God. Well, Ross Terrio, he's going to be running as alderman. I'm looking for a lot of great friends on the board with common sense. I think the big thing is, as an alderman, we have to ask the tough questions. And what I'm really surprised, I'm a newbie, and that's kind of can be intimidating being a newbie. I always say there's so many different languages when you're learning something new. But I'm willing to ask, and I'm willing to be vulnerable, and that's the important thing. And that's how we end up doing a good job for our constituents and for, our city, because we care. If we don't ask those questions, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
Don't we need checks and balances?
Yeah.
In life, we need checks and
I agree.
balances. And I think that's the crazy thing is they wanted to put something on the ballot about the school board having its own taxing authority, and it was going to be on its own. And I'm like, wait a second. All right, common sense, to have an open checkbook for anyone is not acceptable.
I'm not okay with that because Derry has that.
They do?
The school board makes their own taxes, I believe.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy.
Well, they come up with their own taxes, and the town comes up with their own taxes, and Pinkerton is a semi-private school, so
Okay.
the tuition is put into the taxes because they have a deal with the town.
Okay.
So that makes the taxes even higher here. So I know that.
So ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah.
And that is not good. We need accountability across the board, and that's why I definitely voted to out that.
Yeah.
There was a few of us. Luckily, we got rid of it. We had some great common sense people saying no.
Yeah.
We do have a Suzanne Podema who's running in School Board 1. Brittany Ping.
I know Brittany.
Yes, she's excellent. She helped me win too. It was just like so great. Elizabeth Morrow, who was an alderman in Ward 6 before Sebastian, which I have to say thank you to Sebastian because he helped me win too. It was just like really so great how
Yeah.
people come out, because if they're not going to run, they want to support someone with like-minded values and know that willing to fight the good fight. And
Yeah.
that's what we really need to do. I hope I'm not missing anyone. Joy Seneca, Mark Warden too.
Larry Gagney. He's not running for anything, but Larry
Yes,
Gagney.
yes, our state rep, along with Will Infantine, they're superstars. And Joe Lavasser, of course,
I want him on here at some
unbelievable.
point.
You've got to have him in. He's excellent. He helped me the other night because I was asking, Adrian, who is the homeless director, some questions about accountability. How come you couldn't get more than 40 beds out of the $1.4 million? And he came back around and clarified a bunch of things. So it's really good for people to be on the same wavelength to help finish things up, because sometimes it's hard to articulate what you need to say.
Yeah.
When there's like kind of a lot coming at you.
Yeah. And one more thing before we end. Just for anyone that doesn't know, the Board of Aldermen is the legislative body of Manchester. So some places have a town council or a city council or a board of selectmen. Manchester's is called the Board of Aldermen.
Yes.
So just in case anyone didn't know. So, all right, it's been a great show. Would you like to give a closing statement before we end?
I just would love to unite our Queen City and bring love through accountability, transparency, and integrity to all of us for a greater Manchester. And I just want to say thank you to Anthony. And we need more young men and women standing up and speaking up. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. All right, that's about it. I'm Anthony Henry. This has been America's Ask. Thank you for watching.